As the clock ticks down and the pressure mounts, the fate of the company hangs in the balance. One wrong move and everything could come crashing down. But in the boardroom, a small group of individuals sit calmly, their eyes fixed on the future. They are the strategic thinkers, the ones who have the ability to see beyond the present and anticipate the challenges that lie ahead. With their minds sharp and their focus unwavering, they hold the key to unlocking the company's true potential. But can they outsmart their rivals and make the right decision before it's too late? Only time will tell in this game of strategic thinking. In this video, utilize strategic thinking from How Successful People Think book by the great author, speaker, and pastor John C. Maxwell. I promise you great pleasure, knowledge, and benefit. With Wisdom Story, the case of the stolen smell in the end. Welcome to ReadBook Channel, a channel that will help you learn skills from authors and speakers, international personalities, to step towards success and wealth in your life. If you are interested, honor me by subscribing. Let's get started. Utilize strategic thinking. Most people spend more time planning their summer vacation than planning their lives. This quote highlights the idea that many people prioritize short-term plans and goals, such as planning a vacation, over long-term planning for their overall life and career. It suggests that people often focus on immediate pleasure and enjoyment rather than taking the time to think about their future and make intentional decisions to shape it. What comes to mind when you hear the term strategic thinking? Are you having visions of business plans? Do you create marketing strategies that have the power to save a business? Maybe you think about politics on a global scale. You might also think back to some of history's most famous military battles, such as Charlemagne's conquest of Western Europe, Hannibal's crossing of the Alps to surprise the Roman army, or the Allies' D-Day invasion of Normandy. Perhaps, but business or even military action aren't the only applications of strategy. The application of strategic thinking can be beneficial in all facets of life. Plan your life, live your plan. From my experience, I've noticed that most individuals tend to plan their lives on a day-to-day basis. They wake up, make a to-do list, and immediately start working on tasks without much forethought. However, a smaller group of individuals take a more strategic approach by planning their lives on a weekly basis. They review their calendar, goals, and appointments before starting their work, and as a result, they tend to achieve more than their colleagues who only plan on a daily basis. I personally take planning one step further by dedicating half a day at the beginning of each month to plan my calendar for the next 40 days. This allows me to stay ahead of the month, anticipate any potential surprises, and plan my activities with my family and work. I also set aside time for fun activities as well as time for unexpected events. By the end of this planning session, I have a clear idea of what I'll be doing hour by hour for the next weeks, which is one of the reasons I have been able to achieve so much. It's a reminder that having a plan is not enough. Taking action and following through is equally important to make your plan a reality. Why you should release the power of strategic thinking. I can plan, work more efficiently, play to my strengths, and discover the shortest road to any goal by using strategic thinking. Strategic thinking has several advantages. You should use it as one of your thinking tools for the following reasons. 1. Strategic thinking simplifies the difficult. Is the process of understanding complex situations, identifying key issues and opportunities, and making decisions about how to best achieve long-term goals. By breaking down complex problems into smaller, manageable pieces and considering all possible options, it makes it easier to understand and address difficult challenges. Additionally, by considering the long-term consequences of decisions, strategic thinking can help organizations make more effective and sustainable choices. Strategic thinking is really nothing more than planning on steroids. Spanish novelist Miguel de Cervantes said, "The man who is prepared has his battle half fought." Strategic thinking takes complex issues and long-term objectives, which can be very difficult to address, and breaks them down into manageable sizes. Anything becomes simpler when it has a plan. Strategic thinking can also help you simplify the management of everyday life. I do that by using systems, which are nothing more than good strategies repeated. I am well known among pastors and other speakers for my filing system. Writing a lesson or speech can be difficult, but because I use my system to file quotes, stories, and articles, when I need something to flesh out or illustrate a point, I simply go to one of my 1,200 files and find a good piece of material that works. Just about any difficult task can be made simpler with strategic thinking. 2. Strategic thinking prompts you to ask the right questions. Do you want to break down complex or difficult issues? Then ask questions. Strategic thinking forces you through this process. Take a look at the following questions developed by my friend Bob Beal, the author of Master Planning. Direction: what should we do next? Why? Organization: who is responsible for what? Who is responsible for whom? Do we have the right people in the right places? Cash: what is our projected income, expense, net? Can we afford it? How can we afford it? Tracking: are we on target? Overall evaluation: are we achieving the quality we expect and demand of ourselves? Refinement: how can we be more effective and more efficient move toward the ideal? These may not be the only questions you need to ask to begin formulating a strategic plan, but they are certainly a good start. 3. Strategic thinking prompts customization. General George S. Patton observed, "Successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but do not try to create circumstances to fit plans." When it comes to strategic thinking, precision is key. Good strategic thinkers understand that there is no single strategy that can be applied to every problem or situation. Instead, they work to carefully match the strategy to the specific problem at hand. This requires a detailed understanding of the problem and all of its nuances, as well as a thorough examination of all possible options. By taking this approach, strategic thinkers are able to develop customized solutions that are tailored to the specific needs of the problem or task at hand. In contrast, sloppy or generalized thinking can lead to ineffective or even counterproductive strategies. When thinking is vague or overly broad, it can be difficult to identify the most important issues and opportunities, and it can be even harder to make decisions that will lead to success. By focusing on precision and customization, strategic thinkers are able to sharpen their minds and achieve their goals more effectively. 4. Strategic thinking prepares you today for an uncertain tomorrow. Strategic thinking is the bridge that links where you are to where you want to be. It gives direction and credibility today and increases your potential for success tomorrow. It is, as Mary Webb suggests, like saddling your dreams before you ride them. It is a crucial tool for connecting current reality to desired future outcomes. It helps individuals and organizations to understand where they are currently, where they want to be, and how to get there. By providing direction and a clear sense of purpose, strategic thinking gives credibility to decisions and actions taken today and increases the potential for success in the future. It's like saddling a horse before you ride it. In the same way, you need to plan and prepare before you can successfully achieve a goal. By taking the time to think through a strategy, strategic thinking is the bridge that connects where you are to where you want to be, and it is a critical component of success. 5. Strategic thinking reduces the margin of error. Your margin for mistake grows whenever you react quickly or in an overly reactive manner. It's comparable to a golfer lining up their shot before moving up to the ball and hitting it. A shot can be 100 yards off target with just a few degrees of misalignment, but the margin for mistake is substantially diminished by strategic thinking. In the same way that lining up a shot in golf helps you put the ball closer to the pin, it aligns your actions with your goals. Your chances of moving in the proper direction increase as you become more aligned with your aim. 6. Strategic thinking gives you influence with others. One executive confided in another, "Our company has a short-range plan and a long-range plan. Our short-range plan is to stay afloat long enough to make it to our long-range plan." That's hardly a strategy, yet that's the position where some business leaders put themselves. There's more than one problem with neglecting strategic thinking in that way. Not only does it fail to build the business, but it also loses the respect of everyone involved with the business. The person in control is the one who has a strategy. It makes no difference what kind of activity you engage in. People want to work for a leader who has a solid company strategy. Volunteers are drawn to the pastor who has a strong ministry strategy. Children desire to be with the adult who has an organized travel schedule. If you use strategic thinking, people will pay attention to you and desire to follow you. Strategic thinking is vital if you hold a leadership position within a company. How to release the power of strategic thinking. thinking. To become a better strategic thinker able to formulate and implement plans that will achieve the desired objective, take the following guidelines to heart. 1. Break down the issue. The first step in strategic thinking is to break down an issue into smaller, more manageable parts so that you can focus on them more effectively. How you do it is not as important as just doing it. You might break an issue down by function. That's what automotive innovator Henry Ford did when he created the assembly line, and that's why he said, "Nothing is particularly hard if you divide it into small jobs." How you break down an issue is up to you, whether it's by function, timetable, responsibility, purpose, or some other method. The point is that you need to break it down. Only one person in a million can juggle the whole thing in his head and think strategically to create solid, viable plans. 2. Ask why before how. When most people begin using strategic thinking to solve a problem or plan a way to meet an objective, they often make the mistake of jumping the gun and trying immediately to figure out how to accomplish it. Instead of asking how, they should first ask why. If you jump right into problem-solving mode, how are you going to know all the issues? For example, instead of immediately trying to fix a software bug by applying a patch, a developer would first ask why the bug is occurring and understand the underlying cause. This could lead to a more permanent and effective solution rather than just a quick fix. Eugene G. Gray says thousands of engineers can design bridges, calculate strains and stresses, and draw up specifications for machines, but the great engineer is the man who can tell whether the bridge or the machine should be built at all, where it should be built, and when. Asking why helps you to think about all the reasons for decisions. It helps you to open your mind to possibilities and opportunities. The size of an opportunity often determines the level of resources and effort that you must invest. Big opportunities allow for big decisions. If you jump to how too quickly, you might miss that. 3. Identify the real issues and objectives. William Feather, author of The Business of Life, said, "Before it can be solved, a problem must be clearly defined." Too many people rush to solutions, and as a result they end up solving the wrong problem. To avoid that, ask probing questions to expose the real issues. Challenge all of your assumptions. Collect information even after you think you've identified the issue. You may still have to act with incomplete data, but you don't want to jump to a conclusion before you gather enough information to begin identifying the real issue. Begin by asking, what else could be the real issue? You should also remove any personal agenda, more than almost anything else, that can cloud your judgment. Discovering your real situation and objectives is a major part of the battle. Once the real issues are identified, the solutions are often simple. 4. Review your resources. It bears emphasizing how crucial it is to be aware of your resources, even though I just said it. Resources must be considered in any strategy or it will fail. Count things up. What time do you have left? What sum of money? What types of supplies, resources, or stock do you have? What other resources do you have? What obligations or liabilities will be involved? Who on the team has the potential to have an impact? You are familiar with your own company and career. Determine the resources you have available. 5. Develop your plan. The planning process can vary greatly depending on one's profession and the scope of the task at hand. However, a key tip for success is to begin by addressing the most obvious elements of the plan. This approach promotes unity and agreement among team members, as it is clear and easy to understand. Starting with the basics also allows for building momentum, fostering creativity, and increasing focus. The complex can be more easily navigated by first establishing a solid foundation on fundamental elements. 6. Put the right people in the right place. It's crucial that you think strategically while involving your team. Make sure you have the correct people in place before you can carry out your plan. If the people aspect of the equation is ignored, even the best strategic thinking will be ineffective. Examine the results of an incorrect calculation. Wrong person, problems instead of potential. Wrong place, frustration instead of fulfillment. Wrong plan, grief instead of growth. Everything comes together, however, when you put together all three elements: the right person, the right place, and the right plan. 7. Keep repeating the process. My friend Olin Hendricks remarked, strategic thinking is like showering. You have to keep doing it. If you expect to solve any major problem once, you're in for disappointment. Little things can be won easily through systems and personal discipline, but major issues need major strategic thinking time. What Thane Yost said is really true. The will to win is worthless if you do not have the will to prepare. If you want to be an effective strategic thinker, then you need to become a continuous strategic thinker. 5 characteristics of strategic thinkers. Not all strategic thinkers strategize alike, but they do have a few characteristics in common. 1. Strategic foresight. Strategic thinkers have the ability to think ahead and anticipate potential problems. They know having a backup plan or several can help them pivot quickly when things don't go as planned. 2. An inquisitive mind. Strategic thinkers aren't afraid to question or challenge conventional thinking. They know asking the right question is as important as finding the right solution. 3. A flexible attitude. Good strategists have the ability to pivot when a course of action isn't providing the intended results. They're also flexible when it comes to reassessing their own ideas and assumptions as new information comes to light. 4. An ability to connect the dots. Strategists have a knack for identifying patterns and making meaning out of overarching trends. 5. An ability to contextualize information. Thinking strategically requires seeing information through the lens of the past, present, and future to address both short-term and long-term goals. Story part: The case of the stolen smell. Long ago, in a faraway city, there lived a baker who was so stingy that he wouldn't even give stale bread crumbs to the birds. Right next to the baker and his bakery lived a kind man who was always glad to share the little he had with anyone in need. He cared more about making friends than he did about making money. The greedy baker was jealous of his cheerful neighbor and asked himself many times, how can he who has so little be so happy? One day the baker found out about one of the neighbor's pleasures that made the baker furious. You see, every morning the smell of cinnamon buns and sweet rolls drifted out of the bakery, and the wind carried the wonderful aroma right toward the neighbor's house. As the poor neighbor sat on his porch each morning eating stale bread, the sweet smell filled the air. He took a deep breath and sighed with happiness and ate his stale bread and imagined he was eating freshly baked sweet rolls. As soon as the baker found out what the neighbor was doing, he thought, the smell from my baked goods makes his stale bread taste delicious. That's not fair. He should have to pay for that. After seeing this happen many times, the baker went to his neighbor's house and handed him a bill totaling 10 coins for the previous month. The neighbor was shocked and couldn't say anything as he was not sure if this was a joke or not. The baker continued, that's right. You pay nothing and yet every day you steal the smell of my baked goods. Either you pay the monthly fee or I will take you to court for the stolen smell. The neighbor, still shocked, finally managed to respond to the baker's demand with a laugh. You mean you want me to pay 10 coins as a smelling fee every month? Yes. From now on, you will not cheat me from what I'm owed, replied the baker. Soon the word of the baker's demand spread around the city, and everyone laughed at the idea of a stolen smell. They even started going past the bakery in the morning to see what was so special about the smell that the baker had the audacity to charge 10 coins per month. As time passed, the baker hadn't received any payment and had decided to take his case to court. To everyone's relief, the judge assigned to the case was well known for being wise and fair. Everyone was sure that the judge would dismiss the case. After all, how could anyone steal a smell, be it a good one or a bad one? But to their surprise, the judge accepted the case and explained, it's my duty to listen to what the baker has to say. I order both the baker and his neighbor to come to court tomorrow. The judge told the neighbor that he should bring 5 gold coins with him. When the kind man heard this, he worried that he would have to hand over the little money he had to the greedy baker. The baker was delighted with the news. He grinned as he thought of his pockets full of his neighbor's gold coins. The next day, the baker and the neighbor arrived at the crowded court. Everyone from the town was there as they were puzzled by the judge's actions and came to see what the judge would do. They could not believe that he might make the kind man pay for a smell, and if he would have to pay, does that mean that everyone else would also have to pay? When the judge walked in, the courtroom fell silent. First, he listened to the baker's complaint. Then he turned to the neighbor and asked, is it true that you have enjoyed the smell of this man's baked good every day for many years? Yes, Your Honor. I must confess that is true, admitted the neighbor. Then the judge asked each of them if they have anything more to add, and when they were both finished with their statements, the judge thought for a while. Finally, he declared, this is truly a case of a stolen smell, and such it will go down in history for everyone to learn from it. A smell has been stolen, and no one can deny that. Since stealing is a crime, the neighbor must be punished. The kind man protested. "But your honor." "Order in the court," bellowed the judge. He then turned to the neighbor and asked, "Did you bring the coins I told you to bring?" "Yes, your honor," sadly replied the neighbor. "Take the 5 gold pieces from your pocket," demanded the judge. After the neighbor did so, the judge continued, "Now, drop the coins from one hand to the other, and do this 10 times." The neighbor passed the gold coins back and forth between his hands. When the neighbor was done, the judge turned to the baker and asked, "Did you hear the jingle of the gold coins?" "Yes, I did," said the baker with a greedy grin. "Did you like the sound?" asked the judge. "Yes, it is a wonderful sound. It is the payment I believe I deserve," cried the baker. The baker began to move toward his neighbor to grab the money. "Wait," called the judge. "You have already received fair payment. Your neighbor was guilty of stealing the smell of your baked goods. You have been paid by hearing the sound of his money. This case is dismissed," said the judge. Laughter filled the courtroom as the people marveled at the judge's cleverness. The baker hung his head as even he saw how foolish and greedy he had been, and now the whole town knew. From then on, when someone made a foolish claim or threat, people just shrugged and said, "Oh, it's another case of the stolen smell." Moral of the story: the judge's verdict was an excellent example of what can and should happen to people who try to take advantage of others. Don't expect people will take you seriously if you make unreasonable demands. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will become rich one day. And I promise to help you and give you everything you need to be able to walk the path of wealth. But be ready.